Alright guys, welcome to ARWP, the All Real Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Eric Novak, and today we have a special guest. This is one huge guest. I'm super excited for you guys to finally hear this interview. I've been saying that I was going to get big interviews coming. This is one of them. This is an interview with Colt Cabana. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you at the end of the video. Colt Boom Boom Cabana.
Hey buddy, how are ya?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Let's go back to all the way to the past with your first ever match. Can you
Wait, hold on. What do you have in the background there? Is that a tiger?
It's basically like a green scale. Like, it's not real animal at all, but it's like a nice design. I like the color green, and it's like a cow kind of skin thing. Okay. I'm in the Poconos right now, so it's kind of fitting for that. You know, it's like the woods, basically.
Very cool. I like it.
Yeah. I like your stuff, too. I see you got a lot of signed photos. I see you got Sergeant Slaughter right there. Wrestling G.I. Joes. I like that, actually. I like that.
I'm in the office.
I like that. I need to start getting my own office. That's what I need to start doing. I love your shirt, by the way. I actually love that tour. Your match with TJP, I was one of the funniest matches I've ever seen in my life. I really enjoyed that.
You. Yeah, Yano and I, we were a good team. Hopefully we can get back to it pretty soon.
Yeah. We'll talk about New Japan. We'll talk about a couple things. So first, let's talk about your first, because I want to know, wrestlers that make it, what was their first match like? So if you can remember, I know it's been a long time.
Yeah, it was in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. It was called Fort Fest, which was like kind of... I don't know, the town of Fort Atkinson was putting on like a little get together, and part of that, I think they paid this guy to put a wrestling show on in the middle of, it was like in the middle of the lawn. And, you could also ride like really crappy rides, or you could go buy churros or whatever, nachos. And so, they also had wrestling. And so the week before or the night before, I was going to go to the show to help put up the ring, but somebody had gotten hurt. And the promoter, Rockin' Randy, had asked my trainer, Danny Dominion, he'd asked him, like, hey, do you have anybody that can go? And they're like, oh, Colt can do it. And I was like, can I? That'd be my first match. And they were like, yeah, you'd be fine. Just listen to the guy and it'll be nice and easy. And so I wrestled a wrestler who was named Eric Freedom, but he was wrestling as Doink the Clown that day. So I was the bad guy. He was the good guy, obviously, as Doink the Clown. And I wrestled as a character called Goon, the Goon Squad. It was part of a tag team called the Goon Squad. And I was Goon number 2. And he told me to go buy a pantyhose and put it over my head, and buy a denim shorts and a denim long sleeve shirt, cut the sleeves off, and then just button it at the top. And so it was about an 8-minute match. Everyone seemed to like it. I came back. Rockin' Randy said I did really well, and he said, you should come back and do some more shows. So that was kind of how I had my first match, and that's kind of where I first started, was a promotion called the NAWF, the North American Wrestling Federation, based out of Wisconsin and Illinois.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of gear, since you talked about your first gear, you make your own gear, right? Recently, you've been making your own gear?
I've been making my own gear for a long time. Some of my gear is mine, and some of mine I do outsource. So all my outfits aren't made by me, but I'd say half of them. And then also, all the match-worn headbands I wear. I make all my headbands and a lot of the other stuff I make, but I do make a lot of my wrestling gear. Yeah, I
really like it. I love, my biggest thing about wrestling, like not the biggest thing, but it's definitely a big part of it, is wrestling gear. You don't want to. I had John Schuyler on him, and he had a really awesome quote. He's like, you want to look like money. You don't want to be on the show and not look like money. You want people to talk about how you look and all that. So with ring gear, it's a big deal for me, and I love your gear, especially the most recent one that you wore on AEW. I saw you posted on Instagram as well, the one that you made. Awesome gear, awesome taste. I do love the fact that you do create your own gear, which is a quality and skill not a lot of wrestlers do have.
Yeah, I very early I realized that that it was hard to get somebody to make you gear, and it was also, gear was expensive, and especially early in my career, I didn't have any money really. So I wanted to learn how to do it so I knew wrestling was going to be a long-term thing for me. So I knew I would be having a lot of outfits over the years, so I just wanted to make sure, or I wanted to lower that price and have it available for me to have gear, because I didn't want to be at the beck and at somebody else, and a lot of people were. So even if it was just like help sewing up a hole in some gear that someone else made for me, because like at one point it was like, well, if this gear rips, then there's nothing I could do about it. Well, now that I know how to sew, there is something I could do about it, and I don't have to wait 5 weeks to take it to somebody else. So it is an important skill. And then John's right. People might not recognize when you look average, but they recognize when your gear looks like crap. So at the very least, you want to at least look average, and at the most, you want it to look unbelievable. And I think I fall somewhere in the middle there. So I always try to have kind of some big colors or some fun colors to help me stand out a little.
Yeah, no, you definitely do. I when I look at because your gear, like you said, is very colorful. I really I like the elbow pad. I like everything about it because it all has matching connections to it. It's your look. Like if you don't come out like that, it will be very hard to look at Colt Cabana and be like, wait, that's not the look. It's good to have that special look, and it's your look. That not everyone can take that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've cultivated it over the years, I guess. It's been an ongoing thing, and so it took over 20 years to get to that look, or whatever that look is. But at first that wasn't necessarily it, and you have to kind of like figure out what is your look and what is your style. And a lot of people, even years into their career, are still changing it. So luckily for me, it's kind of morphed into this thing, and everybody kind of has a good idea what I look like. Recently I've kind of changed my ring jackets a little bit. And, for a long time, I would call them the jobber jackets. I would wear like those 1980s jackets that the jobbers would wear on WWF television. I always thought that was kind of funny. But I went and toured with Yano as a tag team, and then I kind of got something similar to him, but I didn't want, he kind of had like almost like a Japanese, not a kimono, but like a gi almost, and it was kind of long. And I was like, well, I want to get something similar to that, but I want it like cut off at the waist so it kind of looks like a jacket. And then he had, someone had painted stuff on his, so then I just kind of had, me and my friend painted mine, and I kind of liked the look, so then I've kind of stuck with that look now. And so that's, you can see that in AEW, kind of, I've been alternating different jackets, and different people have painted on mine, and I've been getting friends to paint on mine. So it's kind of that's kind of a new thing, and a new movement in my style, or updating my style, are these kind of new art jackets that I'm wearing.
No, yeah. Again, like I said, it's very unique and it's very interesting, and it's your look. That's the best thing. All right, let's talk about venues and crowds. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what is the largest crowd you ever worked, and what is the smallest crowd you ever worked? Now, before you answer that, the AEW no fans thing does not count. You cannot.
That doesn't count.
No, because I let that slide with like two guys, and I'm like, all right, see, now I can't let that slide every time. So I need something shorter than that.
Well, let's see. I've wrestled in front of some big crowds, but I guess probably some of those. I wrestled at the Allstate Arena just as a jobber after WrestleMania. The one with, who was it? I don't know. Cena was in the gangster car. It was Undertaker and Mark Henry. And then this was 2006, I think. And then the next night I wrestled on Heat in front of a packed Allstate Arena, which I think is about 14,000 people or something like that. So some of those WWE shows that I did, and also when I wrestled on SmackDown, some of those shows were some of the biggest crowds. And then, we used to do these shows in front of nobody in North Carolina. They were kind of custom matches, and it was like a whole crew of people, and that's where I met a lot of the North Carolina wrestlers. I probably met John Schuyler down there too. But we would just wrestle in front of nobody, and this guy would tape them, and he would sell them to people. They call them custom matches. God knows who they were going to, but we were all wearing our regular gear and just doing regular matches. But those were kind of nicer paydays back then when you needed the money and you had no money. So, in terms of people actually paying crowds, I remember I wrestled, I think, in front of 7 people in England once. and I wrestled a wrestler named Ross Jordan. I remember the match was really fun, and we got all 7 people into the match.
Really? How did you guys
Yeah.
do that? I'm interested. How did you guys do that? How did you get 7 people?
I mean, we made them a part of the show. You know, we essentially made them a part of the match. And so, I mean, I can't give you details, but
Okay.
I remember it went from like almost embarrassing to go out there to, hey, this is really fun. Everyone's really enjoying themselves.
All right. Now, tell me the strangest place you ever worked. It could be the venue. It could be the arena. I've got many different answers, unique ones. And I know that you've been traveling, and I know you've been wrestling all over the world, basically. And I've seen you in so many matches, and we'll talk about that later. So tell me one place that to you stood out like, this is a little weird, it's a little sketchy.
Well, no, I mean, I've wrestled in a lot of places, and I mean, the Gathering of the Juggalos is obviously one of them. And then also, you know, I did a tour of the northernmost part of Canada, which is called Iqaluit, in the province of Nunavut. And, you know, that was essentially in front of the Inuit people. That was for the Inuits. So those are 2 weird places. I wrestled in a dirt patch in India, which was very odd, where they just built a ring like on a dirt patch, and then the ring was like a 24 by 24, and it was just like all cement, like there was 0 padding to it.
I think Kevin Matthews. I had Kevin Matthews on. I think he
Yeah,
talked about that.
we were on that tour together. It was me, Kevin, Trent, and Sanjay Dutt. And then the other weird place was I don't know if this is the correct term. I don't think it is, but at the time they would call them fat camps, which was for like overweight kids to go to like an overnight camp to help them kind of lose weight. And we were the entertainment there, which was weird because this camp was like on MTV. I remember there was an MTV show about it, like back in the mid 2000s. And so we were wrestling at that camp, which kind of had a little fame, I guess.
Interesting. All right. Tell me, you know, in one of your memories, what was one of the matches that you had out of many that stood out to you as memorable forever? Like, you'll look back at it and you'll always remember that one match because of something that happened, or, you know, during the match, just something that like will never miss your eye.
Sure. My 5th match ever, I wrestled King Kong Bundy in a handicap match. It was me and a guy named Downtown Bobo Brown. We wrestled King Kong Bundy. And, you know, I was only 5 matches into wrestling. It was that same summer I wrestled at Fort Atkinson. So I had just turned 19 years old, and King Kong Bundy was a legend, somebody I grew up watching, somebody I idolized. And next thing you know, not only am I in a locker room with him, but he's treating me as an equal, and he's very nice to me. And I'm no longer on the side paying for a ticket, but I'm next to him talking about the wrestling match that we're going to have. And so he was very nice. He was very kind. He was very giving. And just like the awe that I was in at that point to be wrestling someone whose figure I had, I'll never forget. And I gave him a drop kick, and he kind of stumbled back. And I was told that he really liked me because I kind of stumbled back. Awesome. Or he stumbled back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cole, tell me if this is true. I mean, I've seen photos, and I think I watched a few matches, but I can't remember exactly. Did you wrestle in Israel?
I never wrestled in Israel. There's a promoter out there who's been almost promising to have me out for maybe almost 15 years now, and he's never brought me out. So it's very sad, and I hope to one day be able to wrestle in Israel. It's one of the goals I have. And with this pandemic, it's, you know, that's making it harder and harder to do, but hopefully eventually I'll be able to get out there and wrestle in Israel.
All right. So I want to tell you about, you know, the matches that I've seen you in, like my first few matches, and that was the G1 and All In. Like, those were 2 matches where I noticed you were part of so much memorable history. Tell me how both those calls came separately. So start with whatever you want to start with.
Okay, well, that's pretty crazy because I've never been in the G1.
But the New Japan, the MSG show, I was there.
Oh, is that the G1?
It was called the G1. Yeah, it was called the G1 MSG.
Oh, G1 Supercard, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It was amazing to be at Madison Square Garden. At that point, I was a commentator for Ring of Honor, and I wanted to be a wrestler. And I knew we were doing Madison Square Garden, so I kind of said something to the to the booker and I was like, hey, I should be able to do something here. And they were both agreed. And so, to be able to kind of see myself in the garden and call the matches in the garden, then also be able to take off the outfit and run into the ring, and then have the whole crowd start cheering for me, was super exciting. You'll see how excited I get. Like, Liger's hitting me, and I'm just like ignoring it because I'm like soaking in everybody chanting my name, which was just incredible. A great moment in my career. And then all in too. I played a big part in that battle royal. It was in Chicago, in my hometown. Again, crowd going crazy. Almost had a shot of winning it, but I recognized that day. And if you go back and listen to my podcast from the Road Diary series entitled All In, like, I recognize how important that day was and will be in the history of wrestling, 40, 50 years from now, I think. So I was just very glad to be a part of it, and to be on the show with all of my friends who kind of helped change wrestling.
Yeah, like I said, All In, I've said it multiple times that All In will be the most memorable independent pay-per-view ever run by just wrestlers. And I think there will never be anything like it due to the fact that so many companies let all of their different rosters come in, from New Japan to ROH. So many different companies laid out their roster, which was amazing. But now let's talk.
You say that, but in 30 years, 40 years, the whole landscape's going to be completely different, and who knows what's going to happen.
That is true. Let's talk about AEW, because that was a huge surprise to me, seeing you in AEW. That was just out of nowhere. It was an amazing moment. How did that contract come to your hand? Because I'm pretty sure at that time you had many opportunities or many contracts given to you. Why did you choose AEW, and how was the feeling of getting it, or just knowing that you were going to make your surprise return?
Well, actually, AEW is the first contract I've signed since my WWE contract, and that you kind of had to sign that contract. And so when I got fired from WWE, I kind of made it a point that I didn't really ever want to sign a contract again. So I had in the past 10 years, TNA had offered me a contract, which I turned down. Ring of Honor offered me a contract I turned down, but I wrestled and commentated for Ring of Honor for years just on a handshake deal. And then eventually I got to the point where I said I didn't want to commentate anymore. I just wanted to wrestle. So I kind of gave Ring of Honor my notice. I gave them a 2-month notice. And then after that, essentially I kind of told my friends in AEW, basically I'd started with New Japan. So the option of going to Japan was going to be what I was going to do full time. But I had also told my friends in AEW, like, hey, I kind of gave my notice. So, no pressure, but if that's something you want, and it was something they wanted, and they jumped on it, and we started our talks, and next thing I was part of the team, and I think it was I think it is a good fit, and those are the wrestlers that I all kind of came up with, and we all kind of cut our teeth together and became independent stars, and they they'll tell you that it was just a matter of time, and it was, and it's very exciting to be a part of AEW.
Awesome. All right. So you brought up New Japan, and I do want to know, how the future looks now that you are part of AEW. After the pandemic, everything opens up. Will you still be doing the U.S. tours for New Japan Pro Wrestling?
I'm kind of, what is it? The only U.S. shows I'm really able to do are some of the smaller independents and AEW. Obviously, that's who I'm contracted to. But I am allowed to do overseas international shows. So, once everything kind of starts getting going, if it does, I look forward to going back and tagging with Yano, and that will be part of the plan. So
I can't wait.
It should be exciting. Yeah.
All right, tell us more about the Dark Order. Tell us about what you're doing with Brody Lee right now. How you guys got an amazing victory. How what's the atmosphere like in the locker room with everyone there?
Well, in storyline terms, I came in kind of hot, and then I started losing a couple of matches, whether it was Kip Sabian or Jericho or Sammy. And, but at the end of the day, I'm still a high-profile wrestler. And, it took years to get to that point where the crowd kind of accepts you like that, and they have accepted me like that. And so, the Dark Order thing was they were kind of taking the wrestlers who were maybe losing a little bit and kind of telling them that they can win. And so that's kind of been Uno and Stu's big thing, and of course Brody Lee, who's the exalted one, and so they've been courting me a little bit, and I think it's been an important part of the show, an important part of storytelling, A lot of people are still unsure whether I'm in the Dark Order, but maybe yourself included, and that's kind of the greatness of telling stories while in professional wrestling.
No, yeah, I love anything that involves change or for the better. If it's a bigger excitement or it's a bigger storyline, that's what wrestling is. You can't have a guy just keep losing. You need storyline. You need something. So it's like if it's you wearing a mask, a purple mask, and becoming a storyline, then we're gonna need to see that. We're gonna have to see that play out. Let's talk about more about you as a child instead of let's get out of the whole AEW thing because I'm pretty sure you've been hearing all that all the time. Let's talk about more about like what inspired you to want to become a wrestler.
It was everything I ever wanted to do. I saw it as a kid on television. My dad would watch casually, and I don't know. I'm a child of the '80s, so I loved sports, and I also loved GoBots, and I loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I loved He-Man. And so I always saw pro wrestling as kind of the ultimate mixture of both of those worlds. And yeah, so for some reason wrestling just that's what stole my heart, I guess. And I always kind of stayed true to that. And I just honestly, as a kid, I just couldn't wait till I grew up so I could start becoming a wrestler, and that's what I did.
Awesome. Are you a collector of any sort, like He-Man, Ninja Turtles?
No,
Uh-huh.
I just when I started wrestling, I kind of made myself broke, because I wanted to be able to live as a full-time wrestler, and at that age, collectibles isn't something that's part of the budget, to be honest. When I was a kid, I had all the LJN wrestlers, and I had a bunch of the Hasbro wrestlers, and I guess I would play Sega Genesis, and I had video games and stuff. But going into adulthood, I kind of stopped collecting as I needed to spend that money on living as opposed to collecting.
Of course, of course. So tell us, outside of wrestling, even though it is your life, it's your passion, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing, especially during the pandemic? What have you been doing?
I think a lot of people know that I'm a big fan of comedy, and I love comedies, whether it's performing comedy or on the stage or going to comedy shows. And during the pandemic, I've been watching a lot of Zoom comedy shows, which is very weird. But, people are adapting just the way the wrestlers are adapting. The comedians are adapting too. So that's something I enjoy doing. I also have been twitching a lot. I have a Twitch account, twitch.tv/Colt Cabana, where I play party games with wrestling fans. And that seems to be real fun. So that's taken up a lot of time, and it's really enjoyable. And it's another way to make a nice little kind of part of an income while just having a good time. So if you want, come visit me on Twitch.
Awesome. So, we're dying down. I don't want to hold you for too long. Tell me, I'm going to give you 2 questions and answer them the way you want. Who are 3 guys that you have not wrestled and you would like to wrestle in the future? And then it is, who are the guys that you have wrestled and would want us to look up the matches? Because it's so amazing and it's, one of a kind type of match.
Sure. Well, I've never wrestled Kenny Omega. I guess I'll give some AEW answers because, that's where I'm at right now, and that's probably the most realistic. So I've never wrestled Kenny Omega, and it's a match that I've always wanted to have. Now, I am more of a DDT Kenny Omega fan as opposed to a New Japan Kenny Omega fan, which, I don't think a lot of people say, but that's the Kenny Omega that I like. So I'd like to wrestle Kenny Omega. And then maybe even a tag team. And, I've never wrestled Ortiz and Santana. So, maybe grabbing myself a tag team partner, somebody like Grado or Yano, maybe even, and wrestling Ortiz and Santana, I think would be a lot of fun. Those are 2 guys that I've never wrestled. And as far as matches, I think a couple classics on YouTube are myself versus Yano from Ring of Honor, and then myself and Yano from New Japan, which I actually put up on my Patreon. So I don't think that's public, but it is on my Patreon. And then what's another one that's on the internet? Go look up myself and Chris Hero versus Lance Archer and Harry Smith from Noah. We co-main evented a show for Noah in front of about 3,500 people in Tokyo, and that's on YouTube somewhere. It's a really good match. So we actually had a series of matches. They're all pretty good, but they're especially the one that was a full house in Tokyo. I'd recommend.
Man, I would love to see you and Yano in AEW. I think that would be an insane tag team. But, I do want to bring this up because I didn't realize it until now. technically, you know, AW may have some kind of contract. I don't want you to tell me, this isn't like, I'm not asking you. It's like, I know there's some kind of contract with New Japan where Jericho and Moxley can go there. If they are open to it and they should let their wrestlers go to New Japan for whatever reasons, would you definitely be interested to team with Yano in New Japan and maybe bringing him to AEW, having like a...
Oh, well, I answered that before. It's in my contract. I can go to New Japan, and it's just a matter of time when the flights start opening that I'll be heading back to Japan and tagging with Yano.
Awesome. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. Awesome. Where can people find you on social media? What do you do? Tell us all your like.
Sure. Yeah. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch at Colt Cabana. My website's coltcabana.com. It has a lot of information there. And if you want to buy anything, I ship everything out from my office here at coltmerch.com. And if you want to listen to all the past archives of the Art of Wrestling podcast, all 10 years of them, basically, go over to the patreon.com/coltcabana.
Wow, what an awesome video. I have been telling you guys that I have big guests, big interviews coming, and this is just the beginning of so many awesome interviews. I got people from Impact, MLW, ROH, any company that you could think of, including AEW, and I'm trying to work with WWE and so many other companies. There's just so many interviews coming up that you have no idea how awesome they're going to be, including this one that you guys can finally watch over and over again. Interviewing Colt Cabana was awesome. Such an amazing guy, teaches you so much. I cannot wait to get him back on here sometime soon. And if you guys like anything and you guys want to message me or talk to me, my Instagram, Twitter is all down there. All Colt Cabana's information is all down there in the bio. And I would love to hear from you. I would love to get you guys opinions on things and people I should interview. I would always love to interact with my fans. And I don't want to call you guys my fans, just my supporters. Because without me, there is no you. And I just love the fact that I get to give you guys wrestling during this time, even now that everything is opening up slowly. I just love that there's more people who are getting the idea of what wrestlers think and say, more than just them showing up to places. Colt Cabana has been one of the greatest wrestlers in our time. He has been to so many memorable moments like All In or the G1 and NJPW. He's been everywhere. There's been so much things going around. Colt Cabana has been a part of it from day one. Getting him on here was a huge opportunity, and I'm happy I got to share that with you guys, and I'm happy you guys got to listen to it. I'll see you guys next time with another video, with another big guest, with another spectacular new talent. And again, please support me by just comment, subscribing, and even sharing with your friends. If you have any wrestling friends who love interviewing wrestlers or just like hearing about wrestlers, get them on here. I've had so many names like Brian Cage, TJP, Matt Cross, so many new performers, so many amazing new talent. Just go check it out. Go check out all my videos. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys, and stay awesome.